What if everything you know about Queen Elizabeth I's death was a cover-up? The official story says she died peacefully in her sleep, but the truth is far stranger. Witnesses contradicted each other, evidence vanished, loyal servants suddenly changed their stories. Behind her glittering image was a ruler in decline, surrounded by secrets and powerful men with everything to gain. Today we uncover the hidden story behind the final days of England's most famous queen, and why someone wanted the truth buried forever. When Elizabeth Tudor became queen in November 1558, she wasn't supposed to be here. She was the overlooked daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, a girl whose early life was marked by rejection and danger. But she survived the reigns of her half-brother Edward VI and half-sister Mary I to step into history. Her coronation on January 15th, 1559, was a carefully choreographed spectacle. The date, chosen by her astrologer, was meant to promise good fortune. From Westminster Abbey to the cheering crowds, she played the role to perfection, holding hands with commoners and cracking jokes. When presented with an English Bible, the 25-year-old queen kissed it and clutched it to her chest, a gesture that cemented her image as both pious and approachable. She had learned survival the hard way. Imprisoned under her sister Mary, she once told Parliament that if she were turned out of the realm in my petticoat, she could still make a living. It was the confidence of a woman who had already faced death and outlasted it. From the start, Elizabeth made a key decision. She would never marry. To Parliament's relentless pressure, she answered that she was already married to her kingdom. From this defiance was born the myth of Gloriana, the Virgin Queen. She became a living icon, dressed in dazzling gowns and painted with white lead, preserving the illusion of eternal youth and majesty. Her reign was a golden age. She restored the coinage, established England's first stock exchange, and found a careful balance for religious peace. Her most famous triumph came in 1588, when the Spanish Armada threatened invasion. At Tilbury, she rode to rally her troops with words that would echo through the centuries. I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. Her words electrified her forces, and the victory became woven into her legend. Her reign also brought an expansion of global trade and a golden age of theatre, with Shakespeare and Marlowe shaping the cultural landscape. By 1601, in her late 60s, she delivered her famous Golden Speech, promising no mightier or wiser prince would love them more. In that moment, the frail old queen was once again Gloriana, the woman who had held England together for over 4 decades. By the year 1600, the Gloriana of England's golden age was a carefully maintained illusion. Elizabeth was 67, ancient by Tudor standards, and every morning became an act of stagecraft. For hours, her ladies applied a mask of white lead mixed with vinegar, smoothing it over the pockmarked scars left by smallpox decades earlier. The same toxic mixture that restored her porcelain visage was, according to whispers, slowly killing her. Her teeth, blackened by years of sugar, stayed hidden behind closed-lip smiles. Beneath her jeweled headdresses, the Queen wore one of over 80 wigs to conceal the baldness caused, many suspected, by years of lead poisoning. Even her hands told a darker story. Nails turned black and lifeless, always hidden by gloves. Behind closed doors, unsettling habits emerged. Elizabeth held conversations with her own portraits, sometimes in the dead of night, speaking to the painted young woman she used to be. Her court began to whisper. Was this merely eccentricity? Or were the first cracks in a queen's mind beginning to show? Public appearances became rare and meticulously choreographed. Every gesture rehearsed, every shaft of light calculated to flatter. Around her, a small, trusted circle controlled all access, deciding who could see her, when, and under what conditions. To the world, she remained the untouchable Virgin Queen. But inside Richmond and Whitehall, England's most powerful monarch was fighting a private battle with age, illness, and the creeping paranoia that no amount of powder or pageantry could fully conceal. For 45 years, Elizabeth I had ruled by keeping everyone guessing about who would follow her. By 1603, the stakes had never been higher. Inside the palace, factions formed like storm clouds. Her chief minister, Robert Cecil, was quietly corresponding with James VI of Scotland, laying the groundwork for a smooth succession in his favor. Other supporters of the late Earl of Essex, executed just 2 years earlier, whispered about alternative candidates. Catholic nobles saw an opening to restore their faith to the throne. Beyond England's borders, the tension was palpable. Spain had troops poised in the Netherlands, ready to back a Catholic claimant. Along the Scottish border, James prepared for both possibilities: peaceful succession or a fight for the crown. In London, merchants hoarded gold, fearing civil war would destroy trade. Elizabeth seemed to know exactly what she was doing. At her final Christmas court, she told the French ambassador, "I may not be here next Christmas, but England will survive the chaos." To some, it was a cryptic warning. To others, a challenge. Either way, the Virgin Queen had ensured that when she finally left the stage, her death would trigger not just grief, but a high-stakes scramble for the throne. In her final months, Elizabeth's behavior grew increasingly strange and impossible to ignore. She refused to sleep lying down, insisting on resting upright against pillows. "If I lie down," she told her attendants, "I shall never rise again." Her fixation with her portraits became obsessive. She ordered them moved around the palace almost daily, claiming some watched her wrong or judged her. In 1 month alone, records show she had her likeness moved 47 times. She began hoarding small objects and wandering the palace gardens at 2 in the morning, barefoot in her nightgown, searching for something she couldn't name. The most unsettling moment came in February 1603, when she suddenly rose during a court session and began dancing alone to music only she could hear. Courtiers watched in frozen silence until she stopped and asked, "Why is everyone staring?" From that moment, her inner circle quietly implemented management protocols, a polite term for keeping their queen under constant watch. The official account of Elizabeth's final days reads like a carefully edited script, because it was. Robert Cecil claimed she spent her last week in quiet prayer, but Lady Scrow, one of her closest attendants, privately wrote that the Queen raged against the dying of the light, speaking to people who weren't there. Even her supposed last words are a mystery. Cecil insisted, she whispered, "All my possessions for a moment of time." Lady Scrow swore it was, "I wish not to live any longer." Another courtier claimed she said nothing at all. Elizabeth is said to have died around 3 a.m. on March 24th, 1603. Yet the public announcement didn't come until nearly 11, a baffling 8-hour gap. During that time, the palace was in total lockdown. Only 6 trusted individuals were allowed in or out, and it was those same 6 who immediately moved and prepared her body for burial. No independent physician examined her, and no autopsy was performed, highly unusual for a monarch. Within hours of Elizabeth's death, Robert Cecil was already executing the smoothest succession in English history. Couriers were riding hard for Scotland with news that James VI was now King of England. The documents they carried appeared freshly penned, but their level of detail suggested they had been prepared weeks in advance. Then, an even more suspicious turn. Elizabeth's personal physician, Dr. John Dee, was found dead in his chambers just 3 days later. Official cause: heart failure. Conveniently, he had been documenting her troubling symptoms for months. Witnesses who had described the Queen's strange final behavior suddenly revised their accounts. Lady Scrow, whose private letters painted a disturbing picture, submitted a new statement to the Privy Council that matched Cecil's official narrative perfectly. Her family's debts were soon erased, and her son gained a lucrative court post. Within a week, Elizabeth's private chambers were stripped bare. Cecil claimed it was standard protocol for royal transitions, though no such precedent existed. Finally came the masterstroke, the most elaborate funeral England had ever seen. The hours-long procession, dazzling in its grandeur, turned public grief into awe. Questions about what had happened at Richmond Palace faded beneath the spectacle. Cecil's operation had not only secured the throne for James, but buried the truth alongside the Queen. So what really killed Elizabeth Y? The official verdict, old age and melancholy, barely qualifies as a diagnosis. Modern theories suggest far more disturbing possibilities. The first points to her own beauty routine. Elizabeth's signature white makeup was a lethal mix of lead and mercury. Prolonged use can cause tremors, paranoia, insomnia, and hallucinations, all symptoms she displayed. In 1999, renovations at Richmond Palace uncovered a hidden chamber containing bottles with traces of arsenic, antimony, and other deadly substances. The find was quietly removed from public record. Then there's the assisted suicide theory. Coded letters between Robert Cecil and his allies, discovered in the 1980s, make veiled references to ending her suffering and bringing about a merciful conclusion. Was the Queen aware her mind and body were failing, an active participant in her own exit? One detail fuels every suspicion. Elizabeth's body showed signs of unusually rapid decomposition when finally viewed by outsiders. This is consistent, not with natural death, but with certain Renaissance poisons designed to destroy evidence. And then there's the Spanish ambassador's eerily accurate letter sent days before her official death, outlining exactly how the succession would unfold. Whether by accident, conspiracy, or careful orchestration, Elizabeth's end was no ordinary passing. It was the perfect crime, committed in plain sight and hidden for over 4 centuries. Elizabeth's death was more than the end of an era. It was a masterclass in political sanitization. In a matter of hours, her closest advisors locked down the palace, rewrote the story, and erased inconvenient truths. If Europe's most powerful monarch could be removed so cleanly, with the truth buried for over 400 years, how many other rulers met the same fate? We may never know. What remains is a question that refuses to fade. Was it simply the toll of old age, or the perfect murder? The answer, like the Queen herself, may forever remain an enigma. This is Long History Short, your shortcut to the whole story. We have been working very hard at finding, writing, and sharing these stories. And for those of you who have chosen to watch and make it this far, we just want to genuinely say thank you. On our channel, Long History Short, We want to continue to bring stories that are worth the listen and help not only educate, but entertain a bit too. If you have any suggestions for stories you'd like to hear, we would love to know. Leave a comment, let us know. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe.